Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you an OP Sorcerer Mage build in Oblivion Remastered. Now the Sorcerer is a very powerful class because spellcasting is super powerful in this game. So we can use all different elements here to take out our enemies, and what's nice about this is with the weakness to different elementals that we can apply on enemies, we can pretty much one-shot most enemies in the game later on. Now this works for all difficulties, so I think the first thing that's best to cover is what we got going on with magic. So for the magic and different spells that we want to be focusing on, I would always recommend to pick one elemental damage type to mainly focus on, but you want to have multiples for the different elemental weaknesses that are in the game. So things like weakness to fire, weakness to frost, weakness to magic, and all these other spells like this are going to be very powerful because we can use this, and then for 30 seconds we're dealing a ton of extra damage with our more powerful spells like our frost bolts and hailstorms and ice blast, flame tempest, firestorm. I like to have a combination of like single blasts, like the firebolt spell, which just casts a little fireball, and then have things like the actual fireball or firestorm, which whenever we cast them, they do a huge area of effect so that we can cast a little bit more freely and take out multiple enemies at a time. So whenever we're using a build like this, we want to be focusing on casting as much as we can, and I like to also run with a dagger that has a any type of absorb magicka here, so you can regenerate your magic back by just attacking if someone gets a little bit too close to you. We also want to have a summon, and I like the Daedroth here because this one can be very good at just going in, tanking. It has a long time that it'll last, and it just is a beast whenever you have it running. Summons are very powerful in Oblivion because they don't scale the same way that we do, so anytime that we're going against enemies, they're going to have a higher percentage of damage. You can use like an Atronach here. These are also quite good too. If we don't want to use this, which the Daedroth's very powerful, we can just summon in something like a Frost Atronach. Even the Flame one's nice because they have magic attacks, so they're good at range, as you can see there, but they're also good if someone gets up in your face as well. So we can also use this to cover different elemental damage types, as we got a lot of different options. There's going to be lightning, fire, and frost damages. As you can see there, the dagger is going to help replenish your amount of stamina, or your magicka there. And with high stamina, using light armor with fortify magicka, we can get our stats up very high here. So with 500 plus magicka, so we can cast a lot. Now, I'll go over the Birthsigns here and the different skills we want to select at our level up. As for the best races and identities in the game, this does depend what you want to play. However, there's a few that stand out, like the Breton here, which can give us a 50% resistance to magicka or magic damage, and it'll also give us a plus 50 to our magicka. I also like the Dark Elf here for the 75% fire damage resistance, which is a very common elemental damage type that we'll be encountering in the game. The High Elf is another choice, but it's a bit more risky, as playing as a High Elf will get 100 extra magicka, which is more than what you get as a Breton, but instead of getting a magicka resistance, you're now 25% taking more damage from frost, fire, and electricity, or shock damage. So that is a big downside to that, but Dark Elf and the Breton are two very powerful ones. You can play with something like a Wood Elf if you really want to be more agility folks, maybe use a bow instead. But any race can work. I just think that these three are the top, and Breton and Dark Elf are the two best for sure. When it comes to Birthsigns, there's a few great ones. The Atronach will actually change the game very much for you because paired with the Breton, who has 50% magic resistance, you also get the spell absorption from the Atronach here, which gives you 50% chance of absorbing spells cast to you, and you get a plus 150 to your magicka total. So that actually gives you quite a bit. That's a plus 200 if you chose the Breton and went with the Atronach. However, you can't regenerate your magicka, so wisdom or willpower becomes a little bit less of a powerful stat. Still useful for fatigue, but that is just for specific play styles. The mage is also quite good because this just gives you a flat 50 bonus to your magicka. If you want to max out your luck, the thief is another decent option. This also increases your speed and agility, so if you want to use like bows and short swords a little bit more. But the mage, Atronach, and the new Lord change is nice. Instead of making it so you take more fire damage, this will actually increase your armor rating by 15, which is really useful early in the game. And then you have 15% magic resistance. So this is also a great choice. Fortify willpower and endurance from the lady is the last great choice that I think works best for a sorcerer mage type build, because this will give you more endurance for more health and more willpower so that you regenerate your fatigue and your magicka quicker. So I guess in essence, if you really want a unique playthrough, Atronach is a very good one, especially paired with the Breton. The mage for the flat out increase to our overall magicka. Thief, pretty much always a decent choice. Lady for the better magicka regeneration and health. And the Lord for just better tankiness. So those would be the best. When we look at the custom class, we got a mage here, which has intelligence and willpower as its main stats, and then all the magic schools. With the sorcerer, it has intelligence and endurance for high magicka and health, and it has heavy armor instead of illusion, which illusion is actually really good. So we'll go with a custom class here. Obviously focus on magic. That's going to be our main focus here. And we're going to want to take something like the intelligence stat for higher maximum magicka, which is really useful early in the game. Willpower is another good choice. You could go that for maximum amounts of magicka regeneration. But I think intelligence and endurance work best because getting more health is very useful throughout the entire game, and especially early on. Although they did change how the endurance works, where you don't have to max this early in the game anymore. But even taking luck is another good choice. It's always a good idea to have luck because this is one of the more costly skills to level up in Oblivion. It takes 4 of your 12 attribute points that you get at a level up. And as we continue to level up, I would recommend maxing out intelligence, willpower, endurance first, putting a bit into agility so that we can use daggers and short swords, because you will still attack with them, especially when you get the magic regeneration on the blades so that you can go in, steal back your magicka, and then attack with it. Now for the skills, we're going to want to be focusing obviously on magic. That's going to be a huge component of this. So you want to first start off with the main 2, destruction and conjuration. So these are very impactful because conjuration, as I mentioned earlier, you can summon some pretty crazy tanks in this game. Destruction will give you more elemental damage, and you can cause weakness to that as well. Perfect. Restoration, enough said, you need health in this game, so restoration is going to be the best way to do that. Alchemy, because we can create potions to regenerate our overall magicka. Now, alteration is nice, so is illusion and mysticism. There's a few different ways we can go about it. I think the next choice we should go for is picking our armor. So light armor is my personal preference, but you can go with the heavy armor if you really want to. The sorcerer class has heavy armor as a proficiency. I still think that light armor works a little bit better, especially since we're not going to have high strength. We're not going to have a lot of carry capacity. Even though we can cast feather, it's still kind of annoying to do that. So I think light armor works best here, especially because this gives us more tankiness. And then we can also get sigil stones to be able to upgrade them and give us extra magicka. Now on top of this, sneak can work good if you want to be more of a stealthy mage. Blade as well is another stat that we can add in, especially since we can use our swords to get a magicka regen on them, which is very effective. We also could go with something like our other stats here, like alteration, which gives you the ability to you got a lot of different options here, but shielding yourself is going to be the main function, so getting reflection and shielding there. Illusion can be good though too, because we can use this to hide ourselves, silence enemies, paralyze them. And mysticism gives us the ability to absorb magic too and bind souls, like your greater soul gems. You can capture them with that. I think illusion is a good choice to go with, and then you can go with alteration or mysticism if either of these sounds better to you. But I actually think that adding in blade is a very good option because we're not going to use a blade too much, but early in the game you will run out of stamina. Now you could also go with something like the marksman. I like a bow, but I did post a mage archer build previously because that's a little bit different with how you go around building it. I just think that going with a blade works well because you will get people up in your face, so it's nice to be able to cast, and then attack if you're getting jumped. So we're going to go with magic, endurance, and intelligence, alchemy, blade, conjuration, destruction, illusion, light armor, and restoration, and what this ends up looking like all together. Another nice thing about this is we do have the ability to turn ourselves invisible, so we can cast different illusion spells here to give ourselves full invisibility so that we can regenerate our magicka from going with a sneak attack here from behind, getting our magic back, and then getting into actually fighting with spells. So I would recommend going with exactly what I mentioned earlier, one type of elemental damage. So I like to use frost as I find the spells have a bit of a lesser cost, and just cold magic in general is always fun. And then you can start off if you're going against a boss type enemy with going more so for a weakness to that elemental damage type at first. Fireballs are nice though because you can actually hit multiple targets at a time with them, so that can be really useful. And then if they get in close, you can just go ahead with a melee attack to regenerate your stamina or to regenerate your magicka back. So kind of kiting them around in a loop and then using the environment to your benefit is going to be a good strategy to use here. And you can see whenever you get attacked, you can summon it, or you can go ahead with just the melee attacking there. I also recommend having a tank for you so that you don't end up taking as much damage as you would normally, but you can with high speed kind of kite them around. And if your summon is being weird, I do recommend the Daedroth here because this can actually do a good job with both its range attacks and its melee. So got a bit of both going on there, and then you can just use your spells from a distance to take out enemies just like that. There's a heads up that it will get stuck in doorways and can get paralyzed, but it still will draw aggro pretty well, so you can go around attacking those that are hiding out behind you, and just go after them with as many spells as you can possibly cast until you need to replenish it. I recommend, again, taking the alchemy, because you can go with some different spells and different potions that are going to benefit increasing your stamina recovery rate, your magicka recovery rate, your health. So if you need any benefit, you always can make a potion that will help out with that. And yeah, I'd recommend going with a dagger here with that absorb magicka 50 points on strike. And then for our overall armor, I have each one of them stacked out with 4 to 5 magicka so that we can get ourselves that massive amount of magicka. Use the best available, and the sigil stones will give you that extra amount of magicka, as we can just continually spam our spells. There are some other combinations you can go with, but I find that just going out all out on your magicka can give you a lot of options, and with a high enough speed you can just backpedal casting your entire way. So there is a sorcerer mage combo in Oblivion Remastered. If you found this video useful, please hit the subscribe button below, and I'll see you all in the next video.